Have you ever wondered why some people keep growing throughout their lives while others never seem to become who they truly are? The answer may have less to do with talent than with something far more uncomfortable: the ability to be alone with yourself. Let's explore why. Every one of us carries an image of who we could become. That ideal self isn't fixed. It has many stages of development, and at its highest point lies what philosophers call transcendence. To understand this idea, I'd like to borrow the words of the philosopher Merab Mamardashvili. He argued that as a person gradually becomes an independent individual, they inevitably discover a certain kind of solitude. This is philosophical language, so it can easily be misunderstood. Mamardashvili wasn't talking about isolation or loneliness in the ordinary sense. In one of his final interviews, he explained that this solitude should never be understood as having no friends or no loved ones. Instead, it means that your deepest conversation is no longer with them. Your most important dialogue takes place elsewhere. Quoting the poet Osip Mandelstam, whom he deeply admired, Mamardashvili described it as a conversation with a distant interlocutor, the highest point toward which a person reaches. Interestingly, he never chose to call that presence God. With remarkable intellectual humility, he admitted that he never experienced mystical ecstasy. He even joked that, as a Georgian raised in the traditions of Georgian etiquette, such mystical experiences simply weren't part of his nature. So who was he actually speaking with? In many ways, he was in conversation with the great philosophers who came before him. He continually brought their ideas into the present, recreating their thinking as if they were still alive. From a psychological perspective, this reveals something essential. The distance between your real self and your ideal self is the very space where personal growth becomes possible. Without that distance, there is nowhere to grow. Now, let's shift from philosophy to psychology. Fritz Perls, the founder of Gestalt therapy, described 4 psychological mechanisms that often stand between a person and genuine personal development. Why begin here? Because even the first steps toward becoming yourself are more difficult than they appear. To begin growing, a person must separate themselves from the larger social whole while continuing to live within it. You must recognize the boundary between yourself and the group. Only then can you enter into a truly productive dialogue with other people. Perls suggested that this process unfolds through 4 psychological stages. Each stage is also an obstacle, but these obstacles should not be viewed as failures. They are realities that must first be recognized before they can be overcome. The first stage is what Perls called pathological confluence. At this point, a person cannot clearly distinguish between I and we. Without that boundary, it's almost impossible to recognize your own motivations. Your desires become mixed with the desires of other people until you can no longer tell which are truly yours. This naturally leads to the second stage, retroflexion. Here, a person turns other people's impulses back onto themselves. On the surface, this can look like taking responsibility, but the resemblance is only superficial. Real responsibility requires knowing which thoughts and motivations actually belong to you. If you cannot distinguish your own impulses from someone else's expectations, then genuine responsibility is impossible. The third stage is introjection. This means accepting other people's beliefs, values, or desires as your own without questioning or processing them. As these borrowed ideas accumulate, more and more parts of your authentic personality become unnecessary. At first glance, this process looks less like growth and more like the gradual disintegration of the self. And sometimes it truly can become that. Yet Perls insisted that these stages should first be accepted as psychological realities rather than judged as personal failures. Only what is honestly recognized can eventually be changed. Finally comes the fourth stage. Paradoxically, this is where personal growth may actually begin. Perls called it projection. Projection means attributing your own qualities, motives, or emotions to other people. As psychologists know, projection creates the conditions for first discussing these qualities externally and eventually recognizing them internally. The conversation begins with someone else. Over time, it becomes a conversation with yourself. That is one reason both Fritz Perls and Carl Rogers became pioneers of group psychotherapy. A group provides countless opportunities for projection. Every interaction becomes another mirror, and every mirror offers another chance to understand yourself a little more deeply.